Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Energy in Motion. I'm your host, Rah Kalon, and we have an exciting episode for you today. I actually am going to be implementing something new. We're going to be bringing in Skype to this episode because I wanted to have a conversation with an old classmate of mine, Anna Warmsley, who went into the UNT Dallas counseling program with me as well. Now, since graduating, we've both taken off, but she is truly doing the work to make a difference in our community. And she's also representing her Dominican roots beautifully. And that's why I wanted to have today's conversation with her. Today we're talking about exclusion, and not just exclusion of anybody or just people of color, but specifically the exclusion of our Afro-Latina family from Black conversations. There's a lot of division and a lot of divide sometimes between African Americans and Afro-Latinas, and we want to sit down and talk about why. Where did this come from, and does it really have a reason to still be in place, this division? So, if you have not already tuned in and subscribed to EnergyNMotion before, go ahead and subscribe now, and follow us on Instagram at 3InMotion. That's the number 3, the letter in, the word motion, so that you can hear the feedback that we get from this conversation and continue the conversation offline with us as well. So, without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Anna and myself for this week's episode, Exclusion. Anna, I want to thank you for joining me on the show. And so I am really interested in diving into this specific topic of exclusion of, the Afro-Latina X community from the rest of the Black conversations, and yet still being very much included in a lot of the Black struggles, being targeted. And we just want to go ahead and talk this out. So go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself. What do you do and where did we meet at?
Okay. So I am currently working as a bilingual counselor, and I do mental health counseling anywhere from the typical talk therapy, and also EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. In layman terms, it's like helping the brain kind of rewire itself and process those negative experiences and memories, or I like to call it digest, like your brain, helping your brain digest that stuff, making sense of it and erasing that triggering effect that it has on you. So that's currently what I do. And I really love it, although sometimes it feels draining and, but I do love seeing people kind of survive and want to improve, and not just survive, but better themselves and, live their best life. Because at the end of the day, we only have one.
Yeah.
And though the struggle is real, there's ways to find beauty in life. At least That's what I like to believe, right? So how did we meet? We actually met, I already knew that we were going to be friends, at least in college, right? Because it was grad school.
Yeah.
And because the personality was very vibrant, and I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And you were just so real. I had to be friends with you.
Yeah. Outspoken and not afraid to, be in your own arena, and, very, very friendly. So we met, I don't know which class. I think it was lifespan development. It must
something with
have
Matthews,
been.
yeah.
Yeah. I definitely recall her because she's definitely different and great. But anyway, so that's how we met. And then I just been following, your different ventures, and now this, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So I was like, oh, I need to let her know I need to be part of this.
Yes,
I need to be in the conversation.
And I'm so glad you are. And just because you've been so supportive always, it pays to be Facebook friends. It really does, so you can keep up with folks. But yeah, let's talk about exclusion then, Anna.
All right.
So what do you identify yourself as ethnicity-wise?
So I always, I identified initially as just Dominican. And in my little world, at least I call it my little world, when I was growing up, I always just felt, Dominican, because that was everything that I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't really I knew of Puerto Ricans, I knew of Cubans, I knew of Mexicans, but everybody identified as that, as their where their parents were from, right? Because I was born in the U.S., but my parents are both born and raised in Dominican Republic. So I didn't really understand what that meant. but I always wondered why we were so different. So in my
Mm.
family, you have people that look very much white and green eyes and blonde hair, and then you have myself, or even my brothers who are a little bit darker than me, or cousins that are way darker than me, and the features are
Yeah.
different. We don't, not with the flat hair, more of the curly or the kinky hair.
Mhm.
But I always wondered, right? Like, how come we're so different? Everybody's so different. So as I got older, I started more. Still, I felt like, I don't know if you've ever met any other Dominicans, but we're definitely proud people.
You are.
And being Dominican is like everything, right? Like, we'll be quick to pull out a flag and start looking crazy and yelling and dancing and singing. Like, that's what the culture is for me, right?
Yeah, it's that fire.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely any excuse to party, any excuse to eat and drink and be merry. That's
Yeah.
how they are. So I started when I went into the military. I started noticing a little bit more of a separation in
Mm.
between people. And as I started traveling to like the more southern states, aka here, and in comparison to the East Coast, I was like, okay, now I can see what the Black experience is. Because
Mhm.
even at that moment, I still didn't necessarily classify myself as being Black, because I really never knew what that meant. I mean, in my mind, it was, you were Dominican.
Mhm.
There's nothing else. There's
Yeah.
no mixture, no nothing. You were either Dominican or you're not. You know.
Yeah.
And but then as I got older, and like okay, like I definitely knew from jump that my features were always highlighted, or I was very made aware of my
Mm.
features. So I know we talked about this before, but the saying that sticks to me, right? Because I always felt so mad that my cousins or my aunts would say to me, like, oh, because your nose is wide, so
Yeah.
you need to basically pray to this god or
Saint God,
saint.
yes.
And she would say it. She would like, San Luis, afíname la nariz. And she would like press
And
her notes down. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't want to do that. Like,
I like your
why do I
nose.
have to do that? And I would look at my other cousins. I'm like, their nose is like this and like ugly. Like, why are you complaining about mine? Mine looks good.
Yeah.
But I knew that was, like I always was made aware that my features were different, that my hair was different, that it
Mm.
wasn't the preferred. I didn't look European, I didn't look Spaniard, and I wasn't, like, oh yeah, you're cute for a dark girl.
See, and the
Yeah.
fact that you are speaking to that, and beautiful Dominican, and I'm over here Black, and just like, yeah, that's all the things I remember too. Like, I remember comparing myself to light-skinned cousins. I remember being told, like, your nose is kind of wide. That's all they said, was kind of wide, and I was
Mhm.
devastated. I was like, oh my God, I have the Michael Jackson bell pepper nose. I was just all, bent out of shape about it. And like the colorism within the community, it's so similar, so similar.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. So I didn't. I definitely disliked my cousins because of that. I mean, it wasn't their fault, but I
Yeah.
had somebody to blame.
Mhm.
And I wanted to be mad at somebody. And I was like, well, I'm gonna be mad at you because you're light skinned and you have green eyes, and
Mhm.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
So I always felt separated within the family. Like, we always would, everybody would gather at my grandmother's house, and at some point we had to live with her, myself and my brothers and my sister. Now
Mhm.
my sister is light skinned, and I always felt like within that little nutshell,
Mhm.
she was the preferred.
Mhm.
And then my older brother was the other preferred because he's a male.
Yeah.
So, there's the patriarchy crap or
Of
whatever.
course.
So I'm like, well, shit, where do I fall in? Like, I'm in the freaking middle of four kids.
Yeah.
But then when my cousins would come over, like they would be traveling from Dominican Republic to Harlem to
Yeah.
visit. Like, I mean, the freaking red carpet would be rolled out. They would get, we would get the no name brand cereal. They would get the Cocoa Puffs.
Oh no.
We'll get the Ivory soap.
Generic.
and they would get the caress
Oh,
like that, you know?
disrespectful. When family
So
comes.
disrespectful. I would have to clean the house to get it ready for when they came. I had to sleep in the back room while they slept where the TV was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. So I always felt that like that as a kid, 7, 8 years
The
old.
resentment, yeah.
I'm like tense, like I want to fight you when you come
Yeah.
over. So there was a lot of that, a lot of animosity amongst the cousins, and then after a while, like I would literally beg not to go to her house. I would do anything in my power not to go to her house because I hated that.
Yeah.
And even then I didn't know. But I do remember them making fun of like my aunts and even my grandmother making fun of my mother because my little brother's dad, he's from Haiti.
Mm.
And they were like, oh, you see, this is why you can't marry a guy that's you can't marry a black guy or a man that's dark because look, you know what I had to do? I had to give your mom my Lanta while she was pregnant so that her kid could come out lighter. I was like, what? Yeah. She would still say that to this day, that she drank a whole shitload of my Lanta, the white fucking substance, because she wanted to make sure that my little brother would come out more fair skinned.
Wow. And what that must have done to him mentally.
Well, I don't know. We've never really, my little brother is one of those people that it's like everything rolls off of his shoulder. He's like living his absolute best life.
In that case,
so yeah, but even like his hair, his hair is more coarse than mine. And that was a topic of conversation. My sister's hair, who happens to be flat and lifeless, was never a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
But mine, because it was curly and it was like, oh, it's hard to maintain. And, I wish you had straighter hair and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So that kind of opened up my curiosity to learn. Okay, well, like I don't understand. Like my dad is Dominican, so why are you treating me different? And as I got older, digging a little bit more deeper, and then somebody, I don't know when, they're like, Dominicans are black, and I'm like, that makes sense, right? Because I'm like, yeah, our features are the same, like the color has to come from somewhere. Definitely.
The melanin, yeah.
Right. It has to come from somewhere. But I never really felt the need to understand anymore until I got married to my husband. And that's when I really felt the exclusion from his family, from, like just how I felt unwelcomed here because, here is this dark skinned girl that speaks Spanish, so she's not from us. Yeah. She can't be in our group,
And you told me last time how kind of growing up with feeling excluded even within your own family that you were like, okay, I'm gonna be stubborn, I'm gonna rebel, I'm only gonna date black dudes.
I sure did.
And so it was kind of inevitable for you and your husband for you to get the chocolatiest of them all, and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was definite. I didn't even pay attention to any of my fellow Dominicans because I felt like no, because in my mind I was not attracted to them, especially the lighter they were, the less attractive that I felt that I was to them, and then even the dark skinned Dominicans would prefer to be with light skinned girls versus dark skinned girls because they are also fed the same bullshit that I was being fed.
Yep.
They're telling me you can only date white. They're telling them you can only date white.
Yep.
So, we weren't even really we weren't supposed to like ourselves, let alone like somebody that looks like us.
Oh, now that is a statement. We weren't even supposed to like ourselves, let alone someone that looked like us. Wow. And so you get married to your husband.
Yes.
A proud black man, and his family responds how?
Not happy. Definitely very excluding, at times demeaning, making racial remarks, complaining that I am teaching my kids Spanish and I'm confusing them, that I shouldn't do that, trying to say that I'm stealing him away, and just I wasn't submissive enough, I guess. I wasn't black enough, is how I felt, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that kind of brought like to my attention to, like, even at work, being around other black females and feeling that same kind of animosity, like, okay, for me, it's like with the Dominicans, like I'm not European enough to be liked in my own race, or in my own ethnicity, I should say, or cultural identity, because it's really not a race. And then I'm not black enough because I speak Spanish and my skin is kind of light compared to, I guess, whoever is defining what black is.
Exactly. Whoever that is.
Right. Because I still don't know. But so that was really disturbing for me, because I was like, okay, here I am, I'm thinking, well, if I marry a black guy, or if I'm with a black man, he's gonna understand my struggle, because I'm already being groomed not to like myself as I am. But and because of, like, the racism, the segregation, all of that, I'm like, okay, well, our experiences are kind of similar. Only thing that I experienced it within the home.
Yeah.
Like, because at this point, I'm still not comprehending that, being black as well, you're experiencing that in the home. I'm thinking that's just us Caribbean folks that want to deny the Atlantic slave trade and want to believe that because the colonizers raped and made babies, that now that we're mulattoes or mixed race, that erased the part of us that's black. So I felt like, okay, well, he's gonna understand my struggle, and I feel like I can connect with the family because my skin color is not white. So I'm like, okay, maybe I could belong.
I could fit. Yeah, maybe I could fit.
Right. But no, that was not. No, and I couldn't do the whole just the smart comments about, like the language. Oh, you're in America, you need to speak English. I'm like, I'm bilingual. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
What's wrong with
I get
them
paid
speaking
more
Spanish?
for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was disturbing.
And when you first were sharing that with me, I kept thinking, I was like, there are so many of my cousins and students that I work with that are dying to truly have someone in their family to help them to learn to speak Spanish because of what a skill set it is. Yes, you're in America, all the more reason to speak Spanish. And so
Yeah.
instead of excluding, these cousins, these people, these family members trying to have this communication with you, you could so learn from them. But I think people are intimidated by what they don't know. I think they're intimidated by the unknown, or just feeling like maybe you think you're better than them just because they're projecting that. It's not at all what you feel. It's not what you're bringing to the table. But because of their own insecurities and because of the beauty standards we've put on in our own culture, we assume that when someone who looks as beautiful as you comes into our family, that you must just know you hot shit and have these bad intentions. And that's never the case. Well, not always the case.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And see, at first I was like, well, maybe they just don't like me, And then as we kind of dug a little bit more deeper, and we had a few blow ups and stuff with the family, I was like, you know what? I'm like, the things that I've been fighting all my life, that self-hate that I was groomed to believe, right?
Yeah.
Is literally, maybe this is what they're experiencing, because here I am trying to not erase those memories, because as I talk about them now, of them talking about my nose or talking about my hair, talking about my skin, like, oh, don't go outside past 3 o'clock, the sun is hot, then you're gonna burn, you're gonna get darker. We don't want to get darker.
Yeah.
Because we didn't wear no sunscreen. So I mean, but I'm like, they must be experiencing the same thing. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to compare myself to her. It's not, let me see what common ground we have. The fact that I'm dating your son, your grandson, your nephew. No, it's, I'm comparing myself to you because you are different than what I am, or how I see myself. And I'm like, well, that's not the case. Like, I'm not here to compare myself to you. I'm here to be part of you.
Yeah.
But no.
And whether they like it or not, you are part of them. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. And there's so many other similarities. And I know it sounds so like cheesy and happy go lucky, but there's so many other similarities that would make for better conversation than the
Mhm.
short and petty comments about all the differences that are meant to
Yeah.
be jabs when really they could be celebrated, but people
Hmm.
people like to be mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was always like that. I always hear people say, "Oh, yeah, you be a house Negro. Oh no,
Mm.
you'll be a field Negro." And I'm like, yes, I know I would be in the house. I get it, but you don't have to hate me for that. I don't want
Yeah.
to be in the house and be getting raped and all kinds of stuff. I
Yeah.
don't want to be in the house.
Yeah.
I'd rather be outside working.
And in this
You know?
scenario, who's really winning? We all the Negroes. So either way,
We exactly, and
it's
we are all enslaved. And
yes.
I feel like this crappy ass self hate is literally continuing to enslave us because
Yeah.
it continues to do what it was meant to do from the beginning, which is divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So like the things that bother me, it's like as we are facing all these other issues that we are also targeted, right?
Mhm.
We're so busy trying to hate each other that we're failing to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
They're continuing to win. Whoever
Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
is continuing to win because the
Yeah.
divide and conquer is still in effect.
Yeah, and because it's gotten so ingrained in us already, they don't even have to continue to perpetuate it because we perpetuate it. We are continuing to tell ourselves this and our kids this, and then they keep like grooming their children into it. So that's the mind fuck of it all is that planted the seed so long ago, and we've kept it alive and well. And for what?
Hmm.
Hmm. So what is it like now bringing up Black Dominican girls in this world that is still not necessarily as advanced in connecting Black and Dominican lives, but how is
Hmm.
that navigating that?
It's definitely hard because they have had their experiences of wanting to compare themselves like to the fair skin girls and the flat hair and all of this stuff, and I'm like, girl,
No.
like,
No, baby.
can you see that people will pay to look like you? Like
Yeah.
literally will pay to look like you. They will pay to have your hair. They will pay to have that beautiful mahogany skin color that you have. Like they will pay.
Yeah.
Like no, you and I try to teach them, about that, about self-hate. I'm like think about the things that you're putting in your own mind that can definitely, impact how you see yourself. So if you
Yeah.
feed yourself these negative thoughts of like, oh, my hair is, I can't make it flat, or my eyes are dark, or my skin is dark, or whatever. Like
Yeah.
if you keep on implanting it as something wrong with you, then you're going to believe it. So
Yeah.
I try to teach them that like they need to be feeding themselves with positivity. They also need to learn to love themselves. And I'm like, nobody is perfect. Nobody's looking in the mirror like, "Oh, I'm the
Yeah.
shit," right?
That's it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I may say it every now and
I
then,
mean,
but
I have some good days, but
right. But there's things that you might not like about yourself, but
Mhm.
you have to learn to love those imperfections.
Yes.
Um, and also just to be tolerant, accepting, respectful of others. Uh, that as much as people want to believe that we are all different, I always tell them this. We all shit the same way. We all do.
We do.
We may talk crap, we may eat different, but we all poop the same way.
Yeah.
So there is at least that piece of commonality that should help you somehow
Yeah.
have some compassion, even for those that don't deserve it, or that
Yeah.
you feel that they don't deserve it. And then
Absolutely.
just keep yourself with the idea that, family is not always blood. Family is everywhere. Family is what you make of it.
Mhm.
And live for the little things, It's pretty much.
Yeah. And from watching you and your girls on Instagram, y'all are absolutely freaking adorable. They have a lot of personality. Big
They
personality girls.
they do. They
Yes.
do.
How old are
So,
they now?
whew, so my youngest daughter just turned 9, and the oldest one is 11. So yeah, they are amazing little girls.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
blessed.
Well, I look forward to meeting them someday since I still have not gotten the chance to. But is there
I'll be
any
ready.
she's like, I need to get ready too. It looked like,
Yeah.
are there any things that you feel like, and this is kind of a devil's advocate question, we talked about it before. Are there
Mhm.
any things you feel like were a benefit to the divide between Black people and Afro-Latinx families? Like, are there
Mhm.
any benefits to this?
I think there were, in the sense of um, people learning to build communities around each other. And again, like, since we have that language difference, because I think, who said it best? Paul Mooney said it, like, the only difference between the Caribbean Negroes and the American Negroes is that they could speak Spanish. That's it.
Yeah.
So I think, in that sense, like, we tend to thrive when we feel a sense of togetherness.
Yeah.
So whether it's predominantly Dominican community, where you have the bare minimum, you have a salon, you have a restaurant, and you have a grocery store. That's all we need.
Mhm.
Those kind of things. Like, I saw a lot of communities, at least where I grew up, that were Dominican-owned businesses. Um, and when I see, like, like a whole bunch of togetherness, like Black-owned businesses, I feel like they thrive.
Yeah.
Or the best example that I can say, when segregation was actually, I guess, beneficial, was when, like, the Black Panther Party, them really focusing and digging deep into their own community and
Yeah.
making their community thrive, helping their community, like, literally ignoring the bullshit and the stuff that, the media tries to feed you, and how it
Mhm.
tries to divide. And they really focused on bettering their community, and they did.
Yeah, by their own resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I agree. I do feel like because of the importance of almost having to be the underdog together, you kind of find your strength amongst the people that you have around you who look like you. And I
Mhm.
think that's what makes it even difficult now, once you have found your strength, to open up a little bit just to bring more people who also look like you in as well. But
Yeah.
that's where we're at, I feel like. So it might have served a purpose while we were, band together, in our separate
Mhm.
silos previously. Now's the time to kind of like cut that shit out and just let's make one large united front to make
Yeah.
the adjustments we need to.
Yeah. Like, even I think I always tell my husband, money talks, bullshit walks. And when the Black Lives Matter movement was, like, making requests for people to, you know, stop spending their money in certain places that weren't, uh, open-minded or woke enough, or weren't doing nothing for the minority communities. I thought that was like a great way to make an impact,
Yeah.
because if you control the money, you can easily control the bullshit.
Yeah.
And I feel, in that realm, it was like a sense of, like, no, like, the hell with that we look different. The hell with the fact that we have, so many things to divide us by. But the fact is that, whether it's me or you,
Mhm.
and we're at the side of the barrel of a gun, like, we can easily be taken out,
Yeah.
because this color is still this color,
Yeah.
you know? So I really like, I guess my dream will be to see more of that, to see more of us coming together for the greater good of all people
Yes.
that look like us primarily.
Mhm.
And then, as it, kind of
Yeah,
have
and
that domino effect.
eventually for all the people, but
Yeah.
we have to start at home. We have to start at home and remembering everybody who is included in that original motherland home.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. That
Well,
would be ideal.
Anna, you have been so awesome to bless the show with your time tonight. I
Thank
want
you.
to give you a chance to pub all the different platforms that you're doing awesome things on. So tell them about the groups, tell them about your work, tell them.
So I'll start with my 5 to 9, because I think they're just amazing. Not saying everybody else is not, but
Yeah.
my 5 to 9 is working for Foundation 45, and I run their support groups on Sunday, and they are a nonprofit organization. You can find them at foundation45.org, And there you'll find where the groups are. They're mainly hosted in Deep Ellum at the Common Desk on Commerce. And they are for anyone and everyone that's struggling, whether it's, you're having suicidal thoughts, or you're, just getting your feet back on the ground, anything. It just is literally a support group for all of those people that feel like they're not included
Yeah, they
in
feel
other
alone.
areas. Yeah. So again, very amazing. So go check us out.
That's awesome. Ah, I love what you're doing. And obviously you love it too, and that's what shows and is the light that comes from you. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
An amazing conversation with an amazing woman, right? There is so much knowledge that each of us have the opportunity to share with each other when we put our differences aside. So today's Take a Beat moment is short and simple. There is no room for exclusion in family. And we, my melanated people, are family. Even those of us who are allies who aren't so melanated, we really do have to unify and come together over our similarities instead of our differences. To come together to support our community with their needs instead of just our want to be divided. Maybe some of us wanted that at some point, but the majority of us now are hungry for community with one another. And through conversations like what me and Anna just shared today, there's so many opportunities for us to continue this dialogue off of Energy in Motion and in the streets and in our homes and with our friends and family, because we need to be in a mindset of inclusion. We need to bring everybody together so that we can sort through this mess called our life, called our country, called our world, and find our solutions instead of only looking at our problems. So exclusion has to go, and inclusion is where it's at from now on out for all of us. So I want to thank you all for tuning in today to this episode of Energy in Motion, all about exclusion, because you're always included here in my mind and on this show. So make sure, if you have not already followed us on Instagram, you follow that handle, which is the number 3, the letter N, and the word motion. So that's 3NMOTION. And make sure that you share this information, this show, these talks with other people who need to start talking like this too. So if you have any questions, always reach out, get in those DMs. And as always, Energy in Motion family, you get to feel whatever you feel, and you will always deserve to heal.
One love.
Peace.
You're heading on your own love. Time not to be there. She says she won't care. Now you had something.
Awesome sauce. Well, then that's where we'll cut it, and I'll edit from there. But this was a good episode.
Yes. I'm glad my family didn't just do the most, because my kid was trying to come in here.
I thought I heard the door. I was like, they're doing so good. Whatever they're doing around the laptop is awesome. Very, very respectful children.
No, she came in because she don't know no boundaries. The little one,
no.
Be ready. That's the one that's going to be like, and what do you do?
Yeah.
And oh my God, you cut your hair? Can I see it? Can I touch it?